Welcome to the video talking about the maintenance and care of the clarinet. Today we're going to talk about how to take good care of your clarinet to keep it in working order always. And then also we'll touch on some of the things that commonly go wrong with your clarinet and how you can fix those easily if possible. Let's start with talking about some maintenance tips. First of all, once you get done playing your clarinet, there's a series of quick little steps you should do. The first thing involves your reed and your mouthpiece. Make sure that you always take your reed off the mouthpiece after you get done playing. Never store your reed on your mouthpiece in the clarinet case. I'm sure your band director, and that's me, we can share with you many horror stories about students who keep their clarinets on their reeds, keep their reeds on their clarinet mouthpieces. They get warped, they get chipped, they start getting moldy, they mold onto your clarinet mouthpiece so that you can't even get it off, and you're putting that in your mouth. So don't leave that reed on your mouthpiece. So be very careful when you take off that reed so you don't chip it. And then make sure that you store it. If you have one of those nice little reed cases where you can put like 4 or sometimes 8 reeds into the little plastic case, those are great. They're very cheap. You can get them from your band director. If you don't have one of those, you probably have a box of reeds that come with these little plastic sleeves. So at the very least, put that reed into that sleeve very carefully so you don't chip it. Don't just throw your reeds into your case without any kind of, case that you put the reeds into. So get yourself a reed case, or at the very least use the plastic sleeves. Okay. Let's talk about reeds a little bit more before I talk about taking the rest of your clarinet apart. Make sure that you always have at least 3 reeds. You need to have 3 reeds for this reason. First of all, and it never fails, if you don't have 3 reeds, if you're using 1 reed and that's all you have in your case that works, you get to the concert, that reed doesn't work, it gets chipped or just doesn't sound very good. What are you going to do? You have no backup reeds. Usually what we suggest is to have 2 reeds that you're using on a regular basis, and you kind of just go back and forth between the 2, or you just grab one of the 2. You know that they both work. And then you have a 3rd reed that's brand new, ready to go to get ready. So the reason we say that is, so let's say you have these 2 reeds that you're using and one of them chips or no longer works that well. You have another reed that you've already broken in. It sounds really good, and even if it's the night of the concert, you're ready to go on that other reed. And then you have that 3rd reed that's brand new that you can now put into the rotation as your 2nd working reed. And then you'd have to go out and buy another 3rd reed. Most of you, I would just suggest at the beginning of the year, if you only have 1 reed, or you don't have any, or you're just down to the last couple in your box, get yourself a new box of reeds, and that should last you throughout the year easily if you take good care of them. So that's my suggestion on reeds. The next thing I want to talk about is when you take the rest of your clarinet apart, what you should use is a cleaning swab of some sort. You can buy these swabs like this, and so I'm going to take this out here. And you want to make sure you do this after every time you play. Again, sometimes you're in a hurry and you want to get out of class and get ready for the next class, but if you don't clean out your clarinet after every time, mold starts to build up inside your clarinet. It makes your clarinet smell, it's not as fun to play, and it's actually harder to play because there's stuff building up in the inside of your clarinet. It's kind of gross. So when you take your cleaning swab, it's really important too that you clean it from the top to the bottom. So this is the bottom half of my clarinet right here. So I'm going to take my cleaning swab, put it in through the top, and then pull this through. And I'm just going to do that with each half of my clarinet. Okay. And then it doesn't really take that long just to do that in both of your main sections. You can do it through the barrel too if you want, and the bell. Sometimes people will get one of these cleaning brushes too, because that swab isn't going to fit through your mouthpiece usually. So if you got a little cleaning swab, mouthpiece swab here, you can just do that and clean out your clarinet mouthpiece. Okay. Just takes a few seconds every time. Make sure you do those steps, all right? Very important. And then a couple other things too, just to keep in mind. Some people like to have a little like polishing cloth to make the silver on the keys stand out. It's not necessary, but if you want to, go ahead. Don't spray your keys with anything like cleaning solution or even soap or anything. It'll ruin the pads. It might actually tarnish the silver. So, but you can get a polishing cloth if you want. It's also very important to have a little container of cork grease. And sometimes your clarinet doesn't fit together very well, and you don't have to do this that often, but just put some cork grease onto the cork here, and then that will help the sections of your clarinet hopefully go together a little bit easier. So if you're feeling like it's kind of hard to put the two sections together, then go ahead and put some cork grease on there. Couple other little things. Make sure that you only store your clarinet in your case. Don't try to put music in there and other items, because that will actually have your clarinet a better chance of those keys getting bent. Your case won't close very easily. It could pop open, so make sure you do that. And then also make sure that when you're taking your clarinet apart and putting it together, that you're not pressing down really hard with your hand on these keys. Be very gentle. Again, if it's not going in easily enough, use your cork grease. And when you put that clarinet in your case, watch out for especially these side keys over here. These can get bent very easily, so very gently put that back into your case. And then make sure that your case has a case tag on it that has your name, your address, and some form of contact information, a phone number, an email address. It's very important to have that on there as well. Now let me just real briefly tell you about some common things that go wrong with the clarinet and what you can do to fix that. First of all, I already talked about the corks, making sure you put cork grease on there to get the sections together. Sometimes that cork starts peeling off a little bit, and if that happens, we'll need to take that into the repair shop and have them re-cork your clarinet. It's a very cheap thing for them to do, a very quick thing that they can do. Another problem is keys get bent, and we talked about that, trying not to bend these keys. One thing that is a little tricky, but something that's a little tricky to show you, the clarinet has these little, students a lot of times will call them wires. I don't know if you can see this wire here, where I'm kind of stretching my first finger here. Okay, there's a little wire underneath there. Maybe if I hold it this way, you can see it a little bit better. It's right in here. And these wires, which are actually called springs, rest against a post. And if those wires get on the wrong side of the post, a key will not work properly. It'll be staying open when it should be closed, or vice versa. So it's very important that these springs stay on the right side. So if you're playing your clarinet and something's not sounding right, it's very airy, the notes aren't working, check and make sure that you don't have a spring that's kind of sprung out instead of resting in. And if you see one, just take your finger or take a pen or a pencil, or what really works well is if you have a crochet hook, and you can hook those springs back against the post, and so that they work well again. Your band director can help you a lot with those kind of issues, but just kind of keep your eyes open for that. So there you go. There's how to take good care of your clarinets. Make sure you always have 3 reeds. Make sure you clean them out. Make sure you don't store your reed on your mouthpiece, and get a case tag for your instrument, everybody. Thank you.